Welcome to the Go Find Out podcast. I'm Jennifer Jelliff-Russell, author, speaker, and entrepreneur, bringing you actionable ideas and interviews with awesome women to help you pursue your dreams and achieve your goals. You can find more episodes of the Go Find Out podcast by visiting gofindoutpodcast.com. Enjoy the show and go find out. Welcome back to the Go Find Out podcast. I'm your host, Jennifer Jelliff-Russell, and this is episode number 60. On today's solo show, I want to talk about embracing your passions and giving yourself permission to dive down rabbit holes that might lead to nowhere. But first, let's jump into a quick personal update. Well, holy shit, you guys. We are midway through October. How the hell did that happen? I don't even have my Halloween decorations up yet. I actually had this awesome idea of a pitched battle between the fake spiders I put up outside every year and the new skeletons that I just bought. I think it'd be pretty cool. I just need to carve out some time to actually make it happen. These last few weeks have really flown by. I've still been processing veggies from the garden, and I have a big tub full of peppers that I need to figure out what to do with. I'll likely just cut them up and freeze them again, but I just need to find the time to do that too. It seems to be a running theme here. So we just tilled everything in the garden back into the ground, which is sad, but kind of also fun because I got to try out the tractor and actually learn how to use it. And our new high tunnel greenhouse arrived in pieces yesterday, so we have begun the process of putting those together. We actually got that through a grant with the National Resources Conservation Service. So if you are in the States and you own a small commercial farm, definitely check into NRCS to see what grants and assistance that they offer in your particular state. On farming things, I still do have to get the garlic into the ground before winter. Hopefully they do better this year than they did last year. I got 0 of the 40 plants of garlic that I planted, but whatever. This year, our awesome neighbors took pity on me, and after my sad year of garlic, they actually gifted us a ton of garlic to try to grow this year, so hopefully that goes a little bit better. As things finally do wind down on the farm, I am ramping up on the writing front. I've been working really hard to get this next book of kids' scary stories out. I really like writing these, and the print version always sells really well around Halloween. They were originally, this new one was going to be scary stories to tell around the campfire, but at the last minute, I kind of decided to make it more of a sequel to the first book of Halloween scary stories, which of course meant writing one more story that follows up on one of the short stories from the first book. Because why not give myself more to do before my self-imposed deadline of Halloween? I'm actually really excited about this book because I am going to make some changes to the formatting by making the lettering a little bit larger because, again, it is a kid's book, and by having black and white pictures on the title page of each story. I personally always loved it when there was some sort of illustration or picture in the books when I was a kid, so I really wanted this new book to be somewhat similar and have some sort of pictures in it that kind of hints at something that might happen in the story. And, since I've learned a little about design using Canva, I figured I should at least put a little of what I've learned into the work and create an even better book for my readers. Okay, I think that's all I've got for now. Let's just get into the meat of the show and we'll talk about going down rabbit holes. It's continually been drilled into our heads that the only path to success is the one where we keep our eye on the prize. Try again, right? And never stray from the path. And hey, that might be true. All of those things might indeed lead to success in that particular thing that you're moving towards. But will it lead to your happiness? And as the Magic 8 Ball would say, all signs point to no. Okay, I know it usually says all signs point to yes, but this time it's all signs point to no. Look, there is nothing wrong with being focused as you go after an objective. It's not a bad thing to ignore distractions on your way to achieving your goals, right? But here's the thing. Sometimes the thing that distracts us from our goal ends up leading to an even better goal that's more aligned with our interests. And sometimes the thing that distracts us makes us even more prepared to achieve our original goal. A great example of the latter is me starting this podcast. Before I started it, I was solely focused on my career coaching business and writing. I'd been toying with the idea of starting a podcast and had been wanting to use the Go Find Out catchphrase for some time. I just wasn't sure if it would be for a book or for something else. I was also listening to a ton of different podcasts at the time, and I was really drawn to stories of women who are going out there and going after their goals. When it clicked to make it a podcast, I felt like I really had to pursue it. But, and this is a big but, this podcast has nothing to do with my original goals. I don't really talk about career coaching topics, and while I talk about what's going on in my author business in sort of the personal update section, this podcast isn't being primarily used to market my books, though we both know that I do give my books a shameless plug every once in a while. No, this podcast is a total rabbit hole for me, though it's one that I love. I put my writing and coaching business on hold in order to learn how to record interviews, how to edit audio, how to create images for social media, and how to cold email guests to get them on the show. And while none of those things directly relate to my coaching or writing businesses, peripherally, they do help. I would never have considered recording my own audiobooks if I hadn't already learned how to edit audio for this podcast. And I would probably have hired someone to create images for social media ads to market my books. Not that mine are amazing, but they do the job on my shoestring budget. My point is this. If I had been looking at my decision from the outside in, I would have probably told myself that podcasting was a distraction, that it would keep me from fulfilling my commitment to coaching and my author business. And that advice wouldn't be wrong, but if that had been the advice I'd gotten, it might have changed my mind on pursuing this podcast, and I wouldn't have the skills I do now from podcasting. So why am I talking about all of this? Clearly, I did pursue podcasting. Otherwise, you wouldn't be listening to this right now. And thank you for listening, by the way. Every time I see the number of listens for an episode, it buoys my confidence and makes me excited to do the next episode. But the reason I bring all of this up is that I see it over and over across education and career programs, where people are trained not to deviate from the one path and told that if they do deviate and spend time learning other things, or if they try something different, that they won't succeed. And I'm here to say that that is total bullshit. That many times the things that you're really interested in learning about can come back into play later on and actually help you succeed. Sometimes they help you succeed in achieving your original goals. And sometimes they help you discover an entirely new set of goals that you never would have even known about. And you might be thinking, okay, Jenny, but is something like podcasting really a rabbit hole? When I think of the term rabbit hole, I usually think of getting sucked into like YouTube videos or chasing down specific hashtags on TikTok and watching, video after video about that topic and being so interested that I completely lose track of time. For me, initially, that is what it was like when I started learning about podcasting. I watched YouTube videos and listened to lots of podcasts on how to start and market a podcast. It was a major time suck, right? But in the end, it paid off because I ended up starting this podcast. Sometimes your particular rabbit hole and how it pays off might not be as clear. It might seem like the thing you're interested in couldn't possibly turn out to help you in a professional way. But if you learn about the things that you're passionate about and give it time, many times it actually turns out to be helpful. Like, as an interesting example that I've seen recently, if you're really into the Marvel Cinematic Universe, right, the MCU, and love watching videos and reading articles about the movies, others might see that as a waste of time. They might view it as a rabbit hole that is just a hobby and that won't have a positive impact on your life other than making you happy. Which, hey, is nothing to scoff at, by the way. If something makes you happy and doesn't harm anyone else, then I say go for it. But what I've seen is that some of those folks who have really dug in and immersed themselves in the Marvel universe turned around and started social media channels, which have just exploded. And a few of them were actually asked by Disney, who owns Marvel now, to go to screenings of the new movie and go to Comic-Con to document their experience. That's right, they're starting to get paid for the thing that they had an interest in. And that might seem like a pretty extreme example, but I'm seeing a lot of social media content creators doing pretty well for themselves simply by talking about the things that they already love and want to share about and talk about. But let's step back from what might seem like outlier examples to something that is maybe a little less fairy tale-like. Let's say you work in a traditional position for an employer. If you find yourself interested in new software for your company that has rolled out recently, or maybe you're interested in developing a new skill that would be helpful in your current role, then pursue that interest. On the career coaching side, I have seen plenty of clients who find themselves interested in learning something new, who actually ended up going down the rabbit hole to learn that thing, then end up getting a promotion because they're now considered a subject matter expert on that thing at their company. Or they leverage that new skill to move into a better paying job at a different company. For some of those people, if they just stayed in their lane at work and not allowed themselves to pursue that new interest, they'd be in exactly the same place as they were before. they would have lost out on the chance for personal and possibly professional growth. So if you find that your interest is piqued by something new, pursue it. Do a search on it. Read articles on it. Watch videos on it. And most of all, give yourself permission to look into it, to stray from your current path just a little, just to see if this new interest might, at the very least, bring you a little more happiness. At worst, you'll have wasted a little time learning something new. At best, you might discover an entirely new passion that takes you places you never dreamed of going. All right, that's our show for today. I am off to learn a little more about UX design, as that is kind of my current rabbit hole. Join me next time as I interview the founder of the freelance CFO, Caitlin Magnuson, about her journey of building a company to help small business owners manage both their personal and business finances. Until then, go find out. Thanks for listening to the show today. I hope you found the information beneficial and that it helps you tackle your own Go Find Out goals. You can find more episodes and the show transcripts at gofindoutpodcast.com. You can also let me know what you thought of the show by tweeting me at GFOpodcast or follow me on Instagram at GoFindOutPodcast. That's it for today. Now go find out.